Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Lorecrimes. And before we get started, my costume didn't arrive in time. Colin's didn't arrive in time. So this is what's happened.
Oh my God.
Eli, what have you done? What have you done?
Oh my goodness.
Hey guys, Panker's no work here.
Oh my goodness. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Halloween special Lorecrimes. This is a little spooky event. We're talking about ghosts and ghouls and all that good stuff. Necrocy is probably going to show up. Should we say who we are kind of for a bit?
I mean, mine was I did. You can check back. There was a podcast we did like a month ago where I was on my phone ordering a costume from Etsy, and I got an NCR Ranger costume. They said, you get your money back if it doesn't get here before Halloween. But we're before Halloween technically, so I didn't get it in time, which is a shame. But,
and I am in the same boat. I ordered a Helldiver costume, and it's not here yet.
Amazing.
I am Colin.
I noticed that.
That is crazy.
I went all over town looking for a freaking Dragon Ball shirt and a bald cap. It took me 4 hours this morning. I had to go to Walmart and there was nothing there. I had to make a Hot Topic account to get 10% off. I have an account at Hot Topic.
Oh no!
Yeah.
But you know what's worth it? I got this cool Dragon Ball shirt, and I'm
Will
Colin.
you wear it after this, Eli?
Yeah, I will. I'll just turn it into a gym shirt or something.
Two Collins. That's crazy. The bed is
Colin
unmade.
squared.
The actual bed is unmade in the background.
Commando helmet just laying around.
Let this be the day that you almost got Warhammer lore, but this is in fact discount Captain Jack, boys, for the audio listeners out there. There is real makeup around my eyes and it stings.
Yeah, it looks good.
I think you should wear eyeliner more often. It really accentuates your eyes.
Oh, it stings so bad.
Yeah, I know. When I had that
Before we
makeup
saw
on for
you
the
were like-
vampire thing, it hurt. That stuff's
Well,
bad
I
for
was
your
like-
skin.
I was like, my eyes. I want to pick my eyes. I'm like, no. Leave them alone.
Thank you for the comment of Captain Jackoff Sparrow. Appreciate that.
Wow.
Well,
Thank
DJ
you,
says
Beast.
the same costume as him. So for everyone today, it's pretty close to Halloween. Spooky, scary skeletons, all that good stuff. And today we're going to talk about ghosts or things basically undead in Warhammer adjacent. Not everything is undead, but we've chosen a little selection of cheeky little things that we've all picked out. I had the pleasure of going first though for people. If everyone did like our costumes, thanks. If they didn't, keep it to yourself. Don't want to hear it.
Please yell at Etsy to be better with shipping.
Mhm.
Starting off with our little adventure into something a bit more, this thing will make you piss yourself. This is truly terrifying. This is not chaos, though. This is Mandrakes, a little horrific creation of the Drukhari. Almost said Dark Elves then. That's not the right setting. So everyone was already thinking, man, the Drukhari, the Dark Eldar, they already kind of are like the scariest, scummiest, like most terrifying thing in the Warhammer verse. There's something worse, and that they fear and that they avoid, and yet they somehow set up right next to in their own neighborhood. So Mandrakes themselves are this sort of ebony skinned, like glowing Dark Eldar like figure, often with like long flowing hair, and they are utterly terrifying to be around. They often appear in essentially their special ability is somewhat they can appear from your shadow, or essentially shadows are their realm. They're not quite living things. They're like half intermixed with like the real space, like in Comorra, and then like half of their soul is like trapped somewhat in the Immaterium as well. They pretty much just describing them for someone like visually, you wouldn't really get to see them up close unless you were pretty much either dead or you were essentially caught a little glimpse like their rippling power. Often I think in the official artworks is green energy that kind of comes out like little carved runes from all like their skin. And what makes them kind of more truly terrifying is the fact that they are pretty much the most efficient killer in all the like the Drukhari's thing is a lot of time, keeping you alive, but this thing is it is death incarnate. They don't even bother going up to fight against. They are got some new models though, so if everyone wants to go buy them, they are pretty sick. For the Mandrakes themselves, they're actually found in a special region of Comorar. I can't pronounce this perfectly, but it's called like Aliendrach, I think. And it's literally like described as like, Chicago, Colin.
Unfortunately, I'm well acquainted.
Wow.
Well, let's just say it got cut off because it's like everyone was like, "Nah, we don't mess with that. We don't fuck that."
Dude, I wish we could do that.
Yeah, and then sort of opened up like 100 years later, and there were people still living in there. Essentially, there's a whole region of like the massive city of the Drukhari city of Comorar that's in its sort of webway, and it's entirely almost shut off, and that's where like the Mandrakes sort of like they scour and they stalk and they hide within the shadows. And even if Astral Vector's thinking, I've got some balls on me and I want to go in there and make a deal, it's not very likely that you'll survive it. But they are fantastically good killers. So if someone's willing to bargain the right price or the things that they are tempted by, then they'll very much be like, we'll go for it. They don't really talk. There are some of them that I will reference a horror story later in this section, but they don't really communicate because it is my dude is literally a shadow ghost of death. What does he need to? He doesn't file taxes. I did think there's a really particularly cool one. Again, pronunciation is going to be dog, like absolute dog shite. Kendarach Druach. Oh, no, I typed that right. Kendarach Drukarach.
Small portal.
Or the Decapitator. This one has 4 arms, and he essentially just roams Comarar's depths, and he likes to insulin moment.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I wanted to get an insulin pump prop, but I had no idea where to find that.
So like this one just essentially just stalks around the streets of Comarar and basically just goes around like decapitating people because he enjoys it. I should say as well, like if you are in the presence of Mandrakes, your bowels loosen. The butthole loosens because these things inspire dread and terror as like a sort of aura effect. It's like literally seeing them is perhaps the worst thing. I mean, like it's the equivalent of like seeing the gash in some way. Like just being around it, you have the instinct of like, I'm a scared little weak human and I'm going to die. They often themselves, like Mandrakes, they channel like life energies from other things. They like with being like creatures like half in the warp and half alive, they like to steal your life force. Like gluck that life force away from you. And there's some abilities they have on tabletop which is also represented in their lore. One specific one was they channel stolen energies and then they just blast it in like freezing flames. Can't remember what the tabletop thing is for that as well. But then the thing is, this flame is not just like painful death. It also burns your literal soul. So it's a complete death, as most things in Warhammer, which are like the worst thing ever. It's like if you die, your soul gets ripped apart. You feel your soul also being burnt alive. Pretty much the worst thing ever. Lastly, on Mandrakes, there's a really cool. Well, it's only they were trying to make Warhammer horror stories, and they were actually like giving it a go. And it's a story about how like an imperial city where it's this noble-born daughter who essentially it's called like the oubliette. If everyone here has possibly read it. It's the one where this noble daughter, I think her father's just recently passed away, and she's essentially threatened by other strong houses on the imperial planet. And they have a little oubliette, which is like obviously for the uninitiated, is basically like a dungeon, or like the worst version of a dungeon. And thanks, brother. Thanks, Tom Warren. Appreciate that. The guy associated with Innsmouth Riz chooses a cost Jason associated with a C.
He's not wrong.
I'm all about. Oh god.
Okay. Itchy. Oh my god.
I'm being sent video games where it's animated dating sims of Lovecraftian creatures. Oh my life.
What's the song in South Park? The so and so warlord Cthulhu. Meow meow meow.
Oh, God.
Meow meow meow. And Hal
Love South Park.
is Cartman in that. In
I
that
sound like
analogy.
him. And in this in this oubliette, there's discovering like they essentially like think it's like a demon or like some weird creature being bound up, and it turns out to be a mandrake. And the thing is with this mandrake, it pretty much makes a deal with the human, and then it sort of slowly starts to get unleashed. And then at first it takes out political enemies or it saves her life, but then eventually this thing just thirsts for death and for life energy to be stolen, and it goes on an absolute rampage. And it's like this thing is truly like, the way it does it in the book, I obviously can't really do it justice, but if people read about it, this thing is quite well sort of put out about, like, it literally makes the hair on the back of your neck tingle. And there's obviously this thing just lives in shadow and it's terrifying. I don't know if anyone else has any other parts they wanted to add about mandrakes. I think that's most of it covered. Again, it's on that awesome tabletop kill team thing now. It's the kill team box set with the Night Lords, so it's in a damn good box set as well. So if anyone wants to go pick that up, hell yeah, some amazing parts in there. My next choice for some little ghoul / ghost here was Wraith Knights. Poor Colin is not representing the Eldar today.
I'm not.
Sorry, guys.
No. So sorry, brother. But I'll try and do this justice.
I support the sentiment, as always.
What are elves good at, Andy? Dying.
Don't ask
Dying.
me.
Dying.
Elves are really good. Eldar are really good at dying.
Hey,
Dying
hey.
and degeneracy.
Only one of the elves in the Wraith Knight is dead. The other one is alive.
Is that for technicality? Come on.
No.
The problem with Eldar society is that what happens if loads of your people die, and if Slaanesh basically sucks your soul on death, they've managed to somewhat solve this with the spirit stones, which are these little, like, I think they are red mostly, aren't they, Colin? They're mostly just like red ruby colored. They're ruby colored gems. Yeah. And they said, not our Slaanesh, not today, sister. So when Eldar upon death, if they are lucky and they're Craftworld Eldar, they will have their soul shoot right into their little spirit stones, which are placed along their armor. And then in their culture, when they say, you know, with them so much venerance of their like they're dead, they get placed into the Infinity Circuit. I don't know what's the best way to describe an Infinity Circuit, Colin. I don't know if you can. Like what's the best
artificial afterlife that they all just kind of chill out in?
It's like it's kind of like. I think the reason it's called circuit is pretty important. I imagine it very much is like a interweaving network, kind of like veins throughout Craftworld ships, if that's like a way to put it. So with so many Eldar dead, they were like, you know what? Sometimes death is just not going to stop me. And so they said, some of these people needed to get back out there. You know what I mean? It's like the guy who's like, I'm the coach, I'm retired, but hell, I'm going to play with those teenagers. Walk that back. Never mind. But, yeah, whoops. Sorry, DJ Beast is going to send me a meme about that. I can already feel it. So for the Eldar, they decided like so much of their force, also members of their society, are actually no longer part of the living realm, and they need to augment their own living forces and units. So the undead have given another crack at this. So with constructs that are made from wraithbone and other parts of like ancient Eldari technology, they are formed into what are called Wraith Knights. And they are pretty, I mean, their variants come in like ones that are much more related to shooting, or their melee variants, which I hate on the tabletop because they are just sometimes there's one.
Well, I have a question. Have you been referring to Wraithguard this entire time? And you
I mean Wraithguard. Sorry, no, I think I have Wraith Knight because I'm talking about the one after as well, because he's the and there's also Wraith Seers as well. So Wraith Guard and then the Wraith Knights as well. Wraith Guard themselves, though, they take these spirit stones that come from maybe Eldar from the Infinity Circuit, and then they are placed into these constructs. And once again, my dude may be dead, but that's no excuse not to be absolutely pounding town in the living realm. The thing is, when you're kind of an undead ghost inhabiting a form, it's not quite like a dreadnought for Space Marines. These things are not really like fully alive. They don't really perceive the material universe quite well. I think they even specifically, what's the word they use? Is it Wraith Sight? Is the particular one, because they don't quite perceive the material universe, like it's a bit hazy. So Wraith Knights are not like a perfect thing of like, oh, this person was just brought back from the dead. It's very much like it's a ghost pilot and he's doing his best, but it's not going to be perfect though. But they are, again, much more similar to like who they were in like previous life though. Although I don't know if this is in lore, Colin, but like they're slightly dulled down between what they're not like quite the vibrant warriors they are, like not like a dreadnought can talk and communicate as well as
they see into, it's like a crocodile with its eyes half under and above the water. They see into the like through the warp into reality. So it's like they're dreaming.
It's also spirit seers as well, are the ones who help guide them, I think.
Yeah, they're the ones who go, all right, you focus on reality.
Yeah, they often need a lot of help though, but my god, do these things represent, especially on the tabletop at the moment, they're not fun. If you get a particularly powerful Eldar who has died, they get, if I remember correctly, Colin, I think they get turned into Wraith Seers.
Wraith Seers or like, Wraith Lords?
I think Wraith Lord, and then they're the ones that like powered by it says specifically in the lore, like these are the ones who their soul was so, it burns so strong and bright that they're actually able to be slightly more protected from Slanesh. So it's a somewhat stronger variants. And then depending on the craft world as well, because not all craft worlds necessarily want to rely on basically taking out your undead ghosts and your, you don't want to put your mother into a pilot thing because you're like, let her rest, my dude. She's fine. Now, if I'm not correct, Colin, was it Craftworld Eandon who particularly they have the most / had the most at some point?
They at one point were the most populous craft world, and then a cyclonic torpedo and Tyranid Hive fleet later, and suddenly they were the least populated craft world.
Yeah. Well, to bet, you could argue then a lot more of them have been turned into Wraith Knights and Wraith Guard and all that good stuff because they got a plentiful supply though. Again, it's not like a perfect thing in terms of Warhammer, like, everyone is fit to be Wraith Knight, just how like in Eldar certain things can only pilot their versions of Titans and all that stuff. Nothing's perfect. But they essentially, the dead march with the living in the Eldar, and they're not quite scary, the other ones, but they very much will cleave you in two and stomp you like the Ents in Attack of the Two Towers. We know like that one bit with the orc and he just like absolutely stands on him.
I am no tree. There we go.
Oh my god.
The CJB meme that was shared, I couldn't not share it. I'm sorry.
Oh, we had some gameplay in this one, didn't we? I think we did any gameplay in this one. Okay, Halloween special.
They have us to look at.
All the memes.
My last one here, just my cheeky last one here. 40k has got vampires, and it's not the Night Lords, and it's not the Blood Angels. This is actually something that goes back to even quite old lore, and it's been around for a long time. They actually have vampires, just straight up vampires, but they're not quite vampires. They have warp vampires. You know what I mean? Like, it's someone saying, like, we don't have vampires, we have vampires at home. Unfortunately, this one is warp vampires. So originally, these are pretty much like much more bat-like than compared to what you would think of like Dracula. And these are entirely just warp constructs, though. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Lord Gross is both cringe and also based. It's only cringe if you deep it.
I'm cringing that space.
And so for warp vampires themselves, they actually came about first of all during the War in Heaven. Essentially when Necrons and the Eldar and the Old Ones were around, and they were messing up the galaxy, and thanks to new lore, they actually created the Chaos Gods. Thank you, guys. Why did they make that change? So back during like in the War in Heaven, the warp used to be nice, and then it suddenly wasn't. It got, people were littering and all that stuff, and then
not littering.
Littering, and then it escalated to
how dare they?
Entire nations of. Was it when the Necrons were going around? They were and the Catan were just like free roaming. They would just like suck entire planets dry of like ancient aliens that no
Hey,
longer
So
yo.
many
exist.
parking tickets. It was obscene.
Unreal. I do like that part in Lore where they mentioned like there are aliens that existed, and then they just like you'll never hear about them because the Necrons and the Catan killed them. But essentially, it created such a turmoil in the warp that it created its first kind of warp creatures that are not necessarily chaos aligned. These ones can be like, I think the Psyche-Nuen, if everyone remembers those things.
Oh yeah,
That kind of like the brain
Psyche-Nuen.
ticks. Well, they also created literal vampires, and again, these like bat-like creatures. And what they do is they say, "Man, I like going to eat salad, and I like having tofu in the weekends, but there's a Wendy's out there and a taco, and there's also a Taco Bell, and I'm ready to eviscerate the bar."
Wendo
just
Bell. Ugh.
So, like the first ever warp
So
creatures.
hard it's getting on your balls.
I'm just saying, like I've never been to eat. I understand I can go to Taco Bell here in the UK. I don't think I can go to Wendy's, but like Colin, if I were to take like a Wendy's, I don't know, burger and stuff it into a Taco Bell meal, how much dysentery would I get?
I think that's how you get AIDS.
Oh
So
no!
yeah. So all the creatures that were alive, and the ones in the material universe, they all had they had White Castle. They had all the good stuff. So we don't even have White Castle here in the UK.
In and out. I've heard
yeah.
that's the best. Gordon Ramsay said so.
Wow.
So they these like bat-like creatures essentially invaded into material universe, and what these guys suck is not blood, but essentially life force. Basically the same thing. I'm not gonna lie, like what Warhammer does a lot of times. These creatures are mostly just a Warhammer ripoff of something else.
No.
Nowhere near as good as like vampire counts. But these ones are a little bit slightly different in their variation because they just take life force, and they often act as creatures where they invade into like hosts. Because obviously with most warp creatures, they don't have a thing that holds the material universe, so they literally need a host to basically take over their body, and then they have to keep jumping from hosts to essentially, because they just drain life forces as they do it. This is probably you think like this goes relatively undetected, and you just would never know. Like if it just kills like a regular human every once in a while, it's not a problem. Except when it's not, because it turns out they got a bit of funny in them. They're a little bit of waste men, and they like to impersonate in powerful. The more powerful and the more impressive the person, they are more drawn to them. I think it's probably because people who live lavishly have better life, more life energy, all that stuff. And so vampires are really hard to detect until the point where like
with current politics in the way you were saying that, I was just like imagining a vampire just being like, "It's the best blood there ever is. It's amazing. I love the guy. Conrad von Karstein, he's a great guy. I love him." It's just like,
I don't know about that.
I'm not
I
doing it
don't know about
again.
that.
It's like going on a diet. You're all too skinny. So they often they're only really detectable unless they often get like planetary governors or like people of importance who they essentially, that person starts to look malnourished and something's wrong with them. It's because they got a literal vampire demon thing within them. There's two main instances of when like an imperial governor was found to have a vampire, and they do sort of basically they literally take over the bodies. They're just doing what they want, and they were essentially the Inquisition sent assassins straight after it. And they were like, "Get that thing out of here! Get off my table, scum!" Another one was when Black Templars essentially had the same problem, and they were sent to go wipe out one, because these things can be incredibly dangerous. It doesn't say in lore if like, because there's only a slight problem, which is their like bat-like form. It doesn't really explain if they're in their bat-like form or they can transform into their bat-like form, or if that's just their true form, but when they inhabit someone, they're essentially a parasite. But this thing is essentially it isn't really like a traditional undead vampire. This thing is purely a spirit. That is essentially a GW copy.
Why did I say that?
That being said, though, that's kind of my section a bit on ghosts and ghouls. I think we have some donations, don't we?
Yes, we do. We have 12 donations. Let me just pop them on.
My eyes hurt so much.
First from Donkey Man USA for 5 buckaroos. Eli is a better Colin than Colin.
Damn.
Oh no.
Damn.
Though to be fair, counter argument, Colin's bed is made. Eli,
It is.
what have you done? What have you done?
That's the real Colin experience, dog.
I love how Eli's wearing a bald cap.
That is amazing, Dave.
accurate.
Fuck you.
Oh God, no!
It's usually
Two
me.
Collins. from Tom Warren. You guys want to read the next ones out?
Sure. Let me give him a read. Man, I always have a stroke when I try and open the super chats, and I don't know why. I find it so difficult.
It's on the main screen.
It's on
Colin, if
the-
you want as well.
yeah.
Oh God! Wow, that's so much
Yeah,
easier,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'll just put them up as we go.
Glass laughter. Thank you for the 2. Colin should have made a costume of his bed. Look, hindsight's 2020, and I wanted my damn thing. All right.
People dressing up in bed sheets can be misinterpreted. Okay? Like when
Yeah.
we ain't going
We
down that
spoke
way.
about this before. I was considering taking a pillowcase and drawing a Space Marine face on it. And I was like, no, we know what that's coded as.
No.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
DJ Beast with a 10 AD. We're gonna figure out what that is eventually. Eli got the same costume as me. All right, that's concerning. H Mealov with a 5 BGN. Eli would rather buy a bald cap than shave
Maybe
off the
someday.
widow's peak. And why did Davy Jones steal Sparrow's clothes? The old green one. Thank you for the 20.
Well, thank you very
Man,
much.
I
Oh,
like this
yes.
message. Collins should have dressed up as the strongest of the old world, a Grail Knight.
Hey,
Outside of Bretonia, Colin has the correct opinion. Why, thank you very much. It's the hairline. You see more skin to let the thoughts in. All right, I'm going to take it. Open finger of the 5C.
Thank you.
Colin's Colin costume is so good, he even
Wow.
Wow.
How did you find a
Meta.
picture of that?
Well, you
DJ
can see
Live.
behind it. It's the StreamYard screen because you can see
Not being
it's
funny.
from the Ultramarines episode.
Keep saying that bloody phrase. DJ Beast, I think, has a bunch of backdrops without us on them, so he can make memes. So, DJ Beast, you're a naughty scoundrel, but we love you.
He's a hero.
Speaking of naughty scoundrels, Eli, do you want to read the next few out?
Yeah, sure. H Milov, thank you for the 2. Bottom left, it's the 3rd Mythbuster. That's me, baby.
A little bit, Jamie. A little bit. You like Jamie
David-
and Thingy smashed together.
Quack, damn you.
David Flaccoberry, thank you for the 5. Well done, Eli. Just opened the stream without my glasses and wondered why Colin was in 2 screens. Wow.
Nobody
It really is uncanny, huh?
should say that phrase. To be honest, when I opened the stream and we were like waiting for Eli, he joined in and we all went, the fuck?
The fuck?
Oh, I see what he's done. I see what he's done. Huh?
Doggyman USA, thank you for the 2. Get in the Wraith Construct, Shinji. I'll watch that show someday.
Don't.
Yeah. Joseph Pollard, member for 6 months. Thank you.
Oh, thank
When
you.
will Colin wear a costume? Is he scared? JK. He tried.
wanna read the
I'm
next
not a
ones?
part of this pagan filth.
Want to read the next one, Al?
Oh, I think that's it. Is it? Oh yeah. Oh, Joseph. Oh,
Sorry.
We read that one.
think about
this
that one. Mr. Mealov, how should keep the bandana for KSI cosplay next Halloween? Bro, that's a forehead.
It's just him coping with the lack of sales of Lunchly. That's not going to last a year. Come on.
He's got a lot on his mind. Caleb Collins from the team bucks. Where did Colin get his horrific Halloween mask? Born and bred,
That
brother.
was mean.
Guys, chill, Daddy, chill. Please.
I want to itch my eyes so bad. You
Yes.
can talk about Watch It in the Rain. I can't remember which one to Watch It in the Rain. Is that the
Watcher in the Rain is the Warhammer horror story, but honestly, I thought maybe I'll talk about it, but realistically, everyone under the sun in the Warhammer community who does lore that's horrific has done Watcher in the Rain. So I thought, no, everyone else has done it. There's plenty
Andy,
of
if
content
something was
about it.
like the equivalent of like was it beating a dead horse? That's all of Warhammer. Like, isn't
Yeah.
it?
No, but that specifically is
In some
beating
way.
a dead horse with a dead horse. It's double horsing.
Double the
It's
horse.
necrophilia. Something's wrong with it.
It's what?
It's not good.
What?
Horsine?
Well, no, what am I thinking of?
What did
Necro
you just
something.
say?
Double horsing?
What goes through this guy's head?
What's the one where like you like
Horsine, that's like
you
horse.
disturbed the remains of a dead body?
Not necrophilia.
Oh, my bad.
That's something a little bit different than dead body.
Although, while you're drinking, Eli could be Vegeta. He has the lack of hair and height needed, and rage if you count the last debate. Caleb Collins for $5. Thank you very much, Caleb.
How is that monetized?
YouTube
How is that monetized?
just
Grave
knows it's real.
robbing, that might be it.
YouTube just knows a real one when they see it.
I mean, I uploaded it, and I was expecting to see flags to know where to censor,
But all
and then I was like, "Oh no, okay,
Yeah.
I'll just re-upload it. It's fine, cool."
So Rarest Pepe says, notice
Carry
how
on.
Colin gets excited when someone says horse. I don't know what he means by that.
Wow.
Oh, someone that's what doing to a dead body what Techless does to Colin. Hal, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Was it I think Colin? I think did you have some scary ghosts / things that you wanted to talk about?
I do. I've got a mix today of things that are alive and not alive. We got to keep things interesting. You know, I figured we start, Halloween season. Start with necromancy in Warhammer. It's properly spooky, one could say. The thing is, right? Because let's just look at all the threats in Warhammer, right? Fantasy, horse mention, okay.
Oh, you're jacked.
Why? What was that profile pic as well? It doesn't
That is
match.
actually you. Holy shit!
Bruh.
Horse
But,
mindset.
He's literally him.
All the threats in Warhammer. Look, Beastmen, who cares? Irrelevant. Chaos, this is a problem. But in fantasy, it's a problem that comes and goes. Then an Ever-Chosen happens. It swamps down from the north, and then it goes back away for a couple hundred years. You don't got to worry about it that much. A little bit, cults still happen, but you can put it out of your mind for a bit, depending on where you live. As long as you don't live in Kislev or something. But this, for the sake of this scenario, you don't live in Kislev. Even then, Kislev beats Chaos. They're good. I'm going to get to the Skaven later, so we'll save that. I mean, what else? The Dark Elves don't live by a coast, and you're good. Which, most towns aren't by the coast in Warhammer. You're good.
They're like gremlins. Don't feed them after midnight and don't get them wet. You're fine with the Eldar.
Yeah. But necromancy has a little bit of the awful of pretty much every other thing in the game. And it's just every Spirit Halloween sale coming at you at once. For example, do you like zombies? You think zombies are scary? I think what The Walking Dead is scary, but for different reasons, because it's just an atrocious show.
Because it won't die. It's just
Scary that it kept going.
The show is a zombie, yeah.
Are you aware that I watched every season?
I'm so sorry.
Seasons. But I was at that point where I was like, I've started, so I'll finish. And I was like, I shouldn't have finished.
I got to season halfway into season 4. I was like, I'm done. I'm good.
When they left the prison, I left the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what happened to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, Negan was an interesting character, but then his pivot to being a goodie is so unlikely and silly. I was like, I love Jeffrey D. Morgan as much as everyone else, and anything he's in is like better, but that doesn't mean it's good. And that's a distinction we should make. Like, I loved him in Grey's Anatomy. I loved him in Watchmen. I loved him in everything he's been in. But that doesn't necessarily mean that anything he's in is good.
It's like, I like you in The Walking Dead, but that doesn't make The Walking Dead good.
Exactly. Especially when the zombies are going, Negan. You're like, no, no, this is getting into fan fiction. Stop that.
Oh,
Stop that. Bad Walking
Ugh.
Dead. Stop making more stuff. You've had your time. Now die like you should. Although you're undead, so you'll just live on and be
forever
rubbish.
as a shambling
Anyway.
corpse. So fitting to what The
Exactly.
Walking Dead is. Zombies are.
Hmm.
But Warhammer zombies are spookier. You know, the one had, if you get bit by one, you don't turn into a zombie because it's just a corpse puppeted by magic. The problem is you can't really get rid of them because it's a corpse puppeted by magic. And if you want to get rid of it, you got to kill the necromancer doing it. But the necromancer doing it presumably knows if he die. Well, he doesn't want to die to begin with. So there's like 100 zombies. He can walk into a graveyard, walk out, and he's got an army. Skeletons too. You know, I've played Skyrim. When you walk around a corner and there's a Draugr Death Lord, there's a little bit of poop in my pants after that. That's what necromancers do.
So what you're saying is like, I don't know, it was a random film. Curse of the Black Pearl, like a random reference. Don't know where I thought like that. It's
You
like when
better
the
start
governor,
believing in ghost stories,
Yeah.
motherfucker. You're
you know,
in
when
one.
the governor starts like battling like the skeleton hand in the closet.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
drawer. Is it like that basically?
Yeah, it's like that. You know, you got to put a whole lot of work into really making sure it's dead if you want to do that. But the problem is, one of the many problems is this is still a Warhammer setting, you know, fantasy or not. It's really not hard to find unmarked graves of people. So if a necromancer just kind of walks long enough and just, you know, I don't know, puts magical feels out or whatever, he's got an army just from going through a walk through the Empire's, you know, just countryside. It was probably 50 battles on that random spot in particular, so a free army. And it's really not a hard thing to do to get into necromancy is the thing as well. It is an immediate way to damn your soul and the soul of everyone around you. Yeah, I saw that. That's great. Don't do that. Get that off the screen.
Thank you, Mr. DJ Beast.
And even when necromancers aren't in charge, they're very still horrifying because they're death magic experts. So he can just point at you and go, I'm just gonna suck your soul out of your body. Yeah, I did that wording on purpose. What about it? Lore of Death. Notice. Oh my god.
Just for the audio listeners out there, Roris Pepe has just delightfully said, "Notice how Hal gets excited when poop is mentioned." Thank you, brother. Absolutely gassed.
Oy.
And I'm glad you're paying attention to notice that.
But even if you don't find necromancy itself scary, right? In Warhammer, a necromancer, like I said, can throw every single costume in a spirit Halloween at you, because that's how the undead army works in Warhammer. Ghosts, banshees, zombies, vampires. Usually the vampire's in charge of the necromancer, but they can do it. So just by sheer volume, right? Eventually, they will throw something you're scared of at you. They have a lot of options to pick from.
For some reason,
any,
the only
like-
thing that jumps into my
Go
mind
ahead.
was Randy and Sapphire goes, "Oh no, it was a spooky ghost!" When he's in that room with the ectoplasm everywhere. It was a spooky ghost.
Maybe that's what happened. A necromancer came in and necromanced all over the place.
Especially with
Is
the
it
Eldar, they're all degenerates anyway.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
I was
no.
gonna say, like,
Come
if we
on.
would forget one thing, I don't know if anyone has this on their script, but there's a certain undead toad. I don't know if Colin has that. He's in a chair.
Croak?
Yeah, I don't know if we wanted
But
to.
that's not necromancy.
Croak.
He just decided death didn't count.
I mean, it could happen
that's
like, to
great.
anyone though. So, say if you stole some like, I don't know, like Aztec-looking gold from the old ones, and then that kind of cursed you like a little bit,
I mean,
and
Just a little bit.
little bit, and like you were just undead after that. It's so annoying. That's crazy, man.
it really is a pain. Unfortunately,
Minor inconvenience.
I don't think Warhammer Fantasy I don't know. When did Pirates of the Caribbean come out? And when did Luther Harkon come out? Hang on a minute. I might have been about to say I don't think copying happened, but I think someone might have copied someone.
It'd also be a shame if, say, you got like the 5th installment in the franchise, and they were like, "We've run out of ideas, so we need to circle back to what was that cool thing that we liked before, like the undead part. Yeah, let's get that out again." Jesus.
Oh, and spookiest of all is anyone could be a necromancer. It doesn't necessarily make you look like an old wrinkly ball sack of a human being. It usually does, but consider this is equivalent to medieval Europe before bathing was really a thing. They're gonna smell. So if you get a necromancer, what's up?
If someone's got that Horus hairline, you can kind of tell.
Yeah, Horus hairline.
But if
someone's bald in Warhammer, it's over.
Necromancy. Your kindly neighbor can be one. You'll never know until their puppets start eating you.
Although the whole bald thing, it's like you have Horus as the most optimal example, but even Lufthuron, he had a full head of hair. Chaos instantly bald. Like it's not even close. It's like if you're bald, you're an evil bugger. Whereas Dante, who's like an epitome of like heroes, and not even like a buzz cut, long flowing locks.
Doesn't fit in the helmet.
Kayvon Strike got the emo haircut. He's like, yeah. Even Cardan Stronos, even though he's been lobotomized several times, he's like, I've got hair. Like, good man, robot man, good work.
Fulgrim still has
bald
pretty
and
hair,
mad.
so.
Yeah, well, he's still super duper evil. So.
Yeah,
arguably the evilest.
He's got many handy hands,
Well, Hal's winning the who's cringest.
Damn,
this is crazy.
Best day of Colin's life. I don't know.
I mean, mine for a brief moment was 100%, and then it subsided. I was like, "Phew."
I drink Elspeth von Draken's bathwater. Just wanted to read that one.
Real. But the last thing about necromancy is that it's a real wide-ranging scale, right? At the bottom end of the scale, it's more sad than scary because it's some dude, he puts all his time figuring out, resurrects one single zombie who then falls apart, and then a witch hunter shoots him in the brain. Not a real productive life. The other end of the spectrum is Nagash, who is a god of the dead, invented it, and keeps trying to build the Halo rings because every single one of his BS plot stuff is, what if I killed everyone all at once? And without fail, it's never shown that he just can't do this. It's very much said he can do this.
Man,
people just
he's such an inspiration, though.
Keep nuking him.
If I ever thought about giving up, I always think of Nagash because that man never gives up.
No,
truly.
We should also
truly believes himself.
Out of universe, look, I'm his top guy. I can only the thankful, of course, but in universe, he's horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
You die, you go to him, like at least in Age of Sigmar, unless you're. This is one of those things where it sounds like there's a lot of ways to get out of it by X God has X claim on your soul. But I think that's also one of those things where we know about a lot of those methods because those are the highlights. If you're an average person in the universe, you're going to Nagash, and it's not a pleasant afterlife. Even before that, imagine being a dwarf. Nagash comes back. Hey, where'd my god go? Oh, he ate her. And is now going to kill you. Which, sure enough, he did that to a lot of people. He's a scary guy. He's scary enough to make the Chaos Gods afraid. Which, if that isn't, then he's a skeleton. So, I mean, what need more? What? Fuck. What else do I need to say?
He's such a narcissist as well. His character is so unbelievable because the dude has complete lack of any decent he's the only character I've ever seen in anything Warhammer where there's not a single redeeming quality. Not one. Even Erebus is a low-key has probably one thing. Nagash hasn't got a
East has
single
faith.
thing.
Erebus has faith in something, right?
Such as the power of Nagash. He has faith in himself, man.
See, but that's something. I guess Nagash has a whole lot of that.
He never backed down, never what? Never give up.
Look, he's the god of the dead. It doesn't matter if you kill him. It literally doesn't matter. Where's he gonna go? Back to home.
Can't kill dead.
Come back later. Dude, top guy. I wish we had him in real life.
Nagash for Saddam Hussein.
What are people typing, bruh? Oh my god.
That depends if the entrance is blocked by debris.
Yeah.
The entrance to the Black Pyramid blocked by debris, bro.
Moving on swiftly from that one. Oh my
Moving
god.
on. To illustrate this next point, I've decided the best way to do it is to steal a narrative device from Lysander and Coda. So, not a script. They haven't done fantasy, so all the wording is original. Just I like the idea they did. So, you are John Empire Man. You live in, make it, just say German sounding gibberish. That's the imperial town you live in. Doesn't matter. It's, medieval-ish Renaissance times, which for you means it's medieval times, but there's fancier paintings hanging around the noble's house. And, life is life. You're a medieval peasant. Could be better. Could be a lot better, but could be worse. Medieval peasants actually didn't have the worst quality of life. Not a good quality of life. They definitely ate better than we did. But that's a history rant for another time. You're a farmer, whatever, and some things start going wrong, right? But it's nothing completely out of ordinary, right? Like there's a part of the harvest failed, like the crops must have got blight or something. Like you harvest it, they were clearly like just bad. That happens. Like that's there's nothing necessarily magical or malevolent about that. That's life. Some livestock follow suit. They get sick all of a sudden and die. Again, this happens. This isn't modern times where you can get the cow doctor in. Shit happens. Then again, and more over the past few weeks, caravans going in and out of the town don't either arrive or make it to where they're supposed to go. Andy's seen something devious. He slammed his desk.
DJ Beast is sending me memes again. Oh no.
That's a good one.
Also, I think I've just seen evidence of an AI Warhammer channel stealing my voice, so there is that.
That sucks.
Sorry.
Oh damn.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Hell of a day for that. Damn.
But oh god, the meme's gonna be shown.
I'll share the meme though.
All right. Well, before I continue on, I want to see this. If it got quite the reaction out of Andy, so
it's a gooder.
I don't know if good is the word I would use for what I'm about to see. I've got a bad feeling about this. They're going to call me Obi-Wan Kenobi.
All I'm saying is DJ Beast has compared me to a boomer guy. I don't even know if he has a following or not, but I'm like, I'm too young to be classified as a boomer. Please don't. And it makes me sad, but I think maybe I should just accept that this is where I am.
Just send it on Discord, Andy. Let me take a peep.
It should be in the chat too.
Hold on, let me just share it on the stream.
A small weird part of lore, which is like
oh my god.
Oh no, it might be devious, boys, but
looking at that was horrid. Fat Geralt. I love Fat Geralt though. Oh my god.
Yeah. Apparently that's me.
Weird side tangent on one of them. Like, I just want to mention briefly Lord Croak, who is literally like a lizardman. Okay, what is the for the audio listeners out there? It is Andy. It says, "Bro, what happened to Fat Geralt? Bro looks like he's about to meet his Discord kitten."
I don't even know what that means.
Silly.
We're too old for this, man.
Silly.
Shout out to Lord Croak though, who is like a literal god tier mage of lizardmen. Who the man is too. Death claimed him, and then he was literally like, "Nah," and now his living ghost inhabits And I would say it's pretty terrifying because what he
him.
can do on the
Last of
battlefield
Us
is
2,
horrific.
of course.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Oh, now just that really alerted, didn't it? Yeah.
I've never
No.
played that game, and I played the first one. I thought it was kind of mid. I thought Last of Us 1 was mid because you just press triangle when you go behind enemies, and it's kind of mid. Everyone's like, 1 is better than 2. It's like 1 wasn't great.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Oh, that's a hot take.
Come at me.
Continue on,
Come
Colin.
at me.
Continue on.
but yeah, back to the thing. The caravans aren't making it arriving, but again, is Warhammer. There's a lot of explanations. You're John Imperialman is in a somewhat remote town. Could be bandits, could be beastmen, could be a lot of things. Some of those mundane, some of those scary, but nothing that particularly indicates your life is about to get very, very, very bad. And then, and other things like this can happen. Like the town well water goes bad. Again, million reasons that can happen. Slowly but surely, some things start happening that aren't so mundane, still bad, aren't so easily explained away. You keep swearing, you hear like faint scratching and skittering when it's night. You're trying to sleep, hear little, rustling in under the floorboards, stuff like that. You swear out at the corner of your eye, you look, you can almost see hunched over figures scurrying about, running around, doing whatever. And it escalates again. Members of the town watch start disappearing, or maybe some important local figure, just straight up assassinated. And depending on how close you are to the soon-to-be end, there's these weird little triangle symbols daubed all over the walls. What the hell is that? You don't know, because out of everything the Empire educates its citizens on, that's not one of them. And it gets worse and worse. There's even less food. These horrible storms start racking the place, except now there's these weird glowing rocks falling from the sky whenever the storm happens. And when someone goes to touch the rock, they turn into a horrible mutant thing. And then, right as the town probably would have died off on its own anyways, the walls explode and in come pouring thousands and thousands of horrid rat men screaming for your death, backed up by, look up what a Hellpit abomination is. Looking at that thing is horrifying. That thing is wrong. Technology just doesn't make sense. Sometimes it blows up in their face. Doesn't matter, because another 100 rats then line up behind his body to take the weapon and then shoot you anyways. And let's say, just for the sake of it, you manage to escape this horrific fate of a Skaven invasion. You see everyone else getting carted off, and let me tell you, there's all sorts of fates that await someone captured by the Skaven. None of them good. Classic, good old-fashioned slavery. There's one of them. They might just eat you. Always fun. And if you're near the north and you're going to Clan Mulder, God help you.
I was going to say, with Skaven, one of the worst fates is like, hey, mice/rats like cheese. You're the cheese.
Yeah, you are the cheese.
You are cheese now.
You're the cheese.
High protein cheese.
They might strap you to a treadmill for all eternity to generate electricity, because that's how they generate electricity. They just get rats on a big hamster wheel. And again, like I said, if you're going to Clan Mulder, you're going to see what happens. What's the equivalent of when a Dark Eldar homunculus gets bored?
Human being Legos.
You could literally just be torso up, stitched onto a massive, ginormous rat as like a little like waving pair of hands. Like just like you could literally be like grafted into something horrific. Oh my god!
The reason for this, they wanted to see what would happen. That's it.
They just do it. You know what I mean? Like, again, to weirdly put a positive spin on something you shouldn't. At least they're willing to give something a try. You at home, you know what I mean? Like,
will try anything.
You naysay. You're like, you gave up before you even started. Listen, little like Scriven over there, he's willing to sew an entire flock of humans onto a carpet of Ratmen because
And
he's
there's
willing to
He's got the
try it out.
mindset.
And there's two more short steps in John Empire Man's soon-to-be over life. John Empire Man flees to a neighboring town after seeing everyone he's ever known and loved taken to some horrific fate, God knows where he makes it to a second town, and then this process repeats all over. And then John Empire Man comes to the realization that no matter where he goes on the planet, there are always going to be rats underneath his feet. There is nowhere you can go. Well, there's two places you can go, but John Empire Man is welcome in neither Ulthuan nor Athel Loren, so there's nowhere he can go that is safe from the rats. And for the final step in his journey, let's say he makes it to some important imperial city, Altdorf, Nuln, wherever. He goes to the local witch hunter order chapter house, informs them of what he has seen. Someone needs to know of the fate of these two lost towns, whereupon they thank him for his service, inform him that the Skaven do not exist, and then he is burned as a witch. Because you do not talk about the Skaven in the Empire of Man. They don't exist.
Why not?
Because if they don't. I don't know, Andy.
Yeah, honestly, like, why do they not rally people to fight the Skaven? Are they just like, hey, this is such an overwhelming force? Don't acknowledge them. Don't give them an inch. They'll take a mile. Is that the
more or less? It's because
yeah,
witch hunters are some of the most educated people in the Warhammer world, bar none. Like, including like the mages
Reddit
and like
cap.
dwarf. All right, they do have the pilgrim hat. That's very rude. They know about the Skaven, and they're aware that if you ignore the Skaven, they're mostly just going to kill each other because they're just the worst. Whereas if some little rat got wind of the fact that the Empire was mobilizing against them, the Skaven would all go, oh God, the man-things know we're here, and they're going to try and kill us. We got to get the jump on them. So in your effort to attack the Skaven, the fear is that you will instead cause the entire Under Empire to rise up and try and take you down.
They did try once, to be fair. Well, twice, technically. Because there was the end times as well.
and Felix were there.
Wasn't there one in Imperial history where it happened once, and then
that's how the Black Death in Warhammer Fantasy happened.
Yeah, they called it like the Red Plague or something similar to that.
That was the one. No, that was the second one the Skaven did in Bretonnia. The first one was just the Black Death.
Oh, they did that, and then they're like afterwards. Because it faded from living memory, didn't it, after that?
Yeah, it faded from living memory. Which really makes me wonder how they justify the name of Emperor Mandrakes Skaven Slayer. Because as far as I know, he is just called that. But the Skaven don't exist. So what was he fighting?
In fact, for the last 10 minutes, I don't know what the hell Colin's been on about. Didn't hear a single fucking thing. This way, Your Honor.
It's that eyeliner is blinding you from the truth.
In fact, I'm 45% blind in this eye, and I can't see out of this one.
Yeah. Of course, the only happy ending for John Empire Man is if he talks to Victor Saltzpyre instead, who will then go off and kill 10 trillion ratmen.
And then just not progress, and then do it all over again because it never ends. There's a vermin tide.
Blessed Shigma.
Jeez.
Is that all of your ones, Colin?
What?
Is that all of your chosen?
Those were mine. The horror of the Skaven and good old necromancy.
We did a few more donations, I believe, and I think Eli is up.
Yeah.
A few more to go through here, boys, though. Caleb Collins again. Eli could be Vegeta. He has that lack of hair. Oh, no, this is the same thing, though. He has that lack of hair and height needed and rage. Oh, yeah, we did that one, I think.
Thank you, though, Caleb.
It's a very important one, though. He says, Shark Boromir 1074. I wonder how Eli feels when he gets... I can't say that out loud.
What did you mean by this? What did you mean by this, Shark Boromir?
What did he mean by this? I think he was pretty clear with his question.
Where does this come from?
He's there up front and honest with it.
Is this a diss or is this an outreach from the the community that also engages in it. I can't say the word because YouTube will get us. Ansi just
No, it will not get you for that word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
never
probably.
mind.
You
No,
can say
it's
this. You
fine.
can say the word. I'm sure.
Oh, mate,
It's
I
not
don't
a
know.
bad word.
You can say that word like, you pegged it down. Like, you.
Maybe if we say it too much
Peg.
in one go, it's going to sound weird though.
Peg. Peg.
Ansi for the 20 Canadian
Thank you.
bucks. Thank you,
very
brother.
much.
I don't know if there was
Enough
meant to be
bucks,
a
baby.
message to go along with that. It wasn't there, but I appreciate that a lot. Bunny Cop, another regular. Thank you, brother. He says, heard there was 2 Collins. Pull the phone out to check. I see 2 Collins, 2 bed, but 0 Athena.
Athena is elsewhere right now. I'm very sorry.
I need an Athena
Ooh.
PNG.
Angry Homunculus for the £2 says necromancers using Saddam Hussein's hiding place.
I like that
Rock
one.
my degree in Warpstone.
Caleb Collins again. Thank you, brother. It says, what's worse, Skaven breeders or Demunculaba?
It's got to be Demunculaba every time.
Yeah,
I'm honestly going.
Surely.
I'm going the
Surely.
breeders. That's a government-backed program.
Keeps
That was
saying all
the
the
second
time.
one was just Hansu
Wow.
going a little bit off.
True.
What?
True.
That's crazy. Like, Honsu's a little bit. He's a
Look,
lot off.
that was his wild ride. He had help, yeah, but like
His wild ride. What are we talking about here?
you kill one guy and you get rid of
That
that.
war crime was a wild ride. No,
that wasn't a Legion sponsored thing. There's no public funding being
I
given
don't
to the
care if it was Legion
Demunculaba.
sponsored. It was Chaos sponsored it.
I'm going by scale, man. There's
Yeah.
infinity of that first one.
Yeah.
Nolan Baker for the $2 says, is Colin's pancreas a ghost or something else?
Wow.
It still works, kind of. The insulin part doesn't.
Hey, 2050, that this shit, medicine's gonna be so far, that shit gonna be working. We know it.
Dude, stem cell, please. That stem cell study that came out and they
Yeah.
canceled with, please.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Ansi for another Canadian
Thank you,
$5. Chaos is reverse keeps.
So when you're talking about
Oh, it was
losing
like keeps is the third band, isn't it? That's good.
Yeah.
Caleb Collins for the $5 again. It's sad attempts at bringing something dead back, just like most people experience with relationships. Nagash has the drip. How dare you lie, simp? Must have missed when it was talk about it. Tom Warren for the $5. I recently heard about a time when Khorne blessed some berserkers to be immune to magic. Then Lord Croak killed them with magic. I love Lord Croak.
That's
gotta love
He's
sounds like an
utter
Chuck
L.
Norris sentence.
He's just built different.
Mr. Mirlov says, where were the Skaven on October the 7th? October 7th. Jesus Christ.
Oh.
That's dull.
Oh.
I didn't realize then.
Edgelord.
Cole Warren.
Edgelord.
What do you think made the first Skaven? It's a good question, actually.
Dysentery.
There's
Colin
several
and Texas?
in-universe myths.
I don't think it'll ever be said. I don't think the old ones did, though.
The one called the Doom of Kavzar, I think it is like the most considered to be canon.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one with like the bell tower. But there's a couple other ones depending on who you ask. So you can go look that up because there's a lot of them and we don't have time to say them all right
Donkey
now.
Man USA, he's back. $5. In quotation, horses are just elves with hooves. That one dwarf in Lord of the End.
Good man.
That's pretty good.
Dwarf.
I like that.
Horses are cool.
What? Another one, Mr. Mirlov. Wouldn't Eli's wife call the cops when she sees Colin in her home? We're aware.
I'd like to think I'm not such a horrific being that if I was in Eli's house, the first instinct wouldn't be to call the police.
Mr. Mirlov again. He's feeling generous today. Colin is Honsu's top guy.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
That's mean. Jack N, I love spooky Warhammer. Also, I'm gay. Once again,
Fair
Glad
enough.
to hear it, man. Good for you.
dude, constantly represents that comment.
Enjoy.
I love it.
Enjoy being gay.
Eli, spooky, scary skeletons. Eli, what have you brought
Yes,
to the
sir.
table?
I have more Warhammer Fantasy for us. Big win for the boys. We're talking about Heinrich Himmler and Krell, Lord of Undeath. First of all, Heinrich Himmler, sus as a Mogus name. They did not try very hard with that one. It's like literally one letter off. But
It's 2 letters off. The HI turned into a KE
okay.
or HE. No, it is never mind. Wait, what?
Yeah. All right. Well, these guys are my favorite Warhammer Fantasy duo. Step aside, Godric and Felix, the real OGs are in here right now.
Ooh,
All right, I'm gonna beat you to death.
We should do an beginner to expert on these guys someday. They would give me an excuse to read that Godric and Felix book. But Heinrich Kemmler is the best living necromancer in Warhammer Fantasy because Nagash isn't around at this point. So he's
not really alive.
Yeah. He's second only to Nagash in necromancy, which is pretty cool. And he got into necromancy as a wee lad, finding a very sketchy book in his dad's shelf, in his locked shelf. And ever since then, he just freaking ran with it. He went on a big crusade, raiding all the knowledge on dark magic that he could and destroying entire covens of necromancers to get it. He eventually would defeat and enthrall a powerful group of liches, which gave him the name Lichmaster. How he became so powerful so fast, I don't know. I think it was like a book in Nagash, and he's
goated,
blessed with it. Yeah, he's just goated. He's naturally talented to do evil. But for centuries, Heinrich schemed and plotted throughout the whole old world, and eventually he became the most powerful necromancer alive. Easy. He would try to involve. Sorry. I have to read my notes because I didn't write these very well, apparently.
Why is he so ugly, though?
But,
like, wouldn't you blend in better as a
boy?
There's like, wouldn't you blend in better as a necromancer if you were attractive? Because people just are like more unquestioning.
Yeah, but I think the more like dark magic you touch, the worse you look.
Yeah, it does eventually like wither you away because it's basically death magic, which isn't inherently evil, but still can wither you a bit, combined with pure dark magic.
He looks like he scrapes his balls on the pavement when he walks.
All right,
in his defense, he wasn't always this old ugly guy. Well, there is actually a reason why he's.
There is also like he's just old too.
Yeah,
I don't know how to tell you. But people
during this time, I think from what I can tell, he was actually like a young, handsome lad, as handsome as you can be in these times. So I think he was he was a strapping young man while defeating necromancers and raising the dead and stuff. He would try to do things that like Nagash would like to do with halo rings and taking over the world, but he was unfortunately stopped by a group of necromancers and vampires who showed up to beat him up because over the centuries he had wronged a lot of these people and stole all their like dark knowledge and stuff. So they all banded together. It's like I assume like dozens of necromancers and vampires, and they fought Heinrich, who literally soloed them by himself and basically won. But then this weird dark force that was with him since he started kind of just up and left all of a sudden and left him as like empty husk. And so he took all the magic that was left in him and exploded basically, and it killed everybody. So he technically won, but it left him as Darth Sidious, basically, which actually there is literally Star Wars references in his backstory. I'm 100% sure. This guy is just Darth Sidious, but whatever.
Sherlock Clouseau.
Do it.
Yeah. For a while, he was this sad, like homeless beggar, just kind of wandering around, struggling to survive. Old man, sad fellow. But eventually, the dark power came back to him and would lead him to a burial site with lots of runes, lots of protection, like magical protection. And this was the burial site of Krell, who is freaking so cool, man. But he would get to the site and make a deal with the dark gods and regain his power, and he would raise this new companion who is Krell. And Krell was once a champion of Khorne, one of the greatest champions of Khorne to ever live. He seized on dwarves in his time as a living, but would eventually be killed, obviously, and then was resurrected by Nagash, and he led Nagash's armies and seized on the dwarves again. He actually won his part of the battle between Nagash and Sigmar, but obviously Nagash lost his battle in that, and so most of the army just crumbled. Krell had to run away and flee with his whites, and for a time they actually survived. They would like rampage and be terrorists all around the right.
Blessed Sigma.
Krell would go on his little crusade for a while and cause issues for the Empire, but eventually, unfortunately, at a frozen lake, I don't remember what it was called, but he was caught by Sigmar, and him and his whites were defeated. Krell was sealed away for centuries until being found by Heinrich himself. Krell is an unstoppable force in combat. He's basically invincible. He was already tough in life, and now he's literally dead, so he can't really be killed. He's unkillable, essentially. He wields the Black Axe, which is a weapon that sends black shards into its victim's heart once they are wounded by it. So these little shards go in your blood and go to your heart and kind of eat it. Pretty nice.
Tony Starks, man.
Yeah, literally. He's got the asbestos axe. But
my brother literally is the Senate. He is the Senate, man.
And Krell's other piece of war gear is he has the armor of Barrows, which makes him pretty much immune to magic items. Because whenever they go towards it, it decays the enchantments on the magic items. Easy peasy. So, anyways, Heinrich raises Krell, and along with Krell, he raises all those whites who fought beside him those centuries ago, which are known as the Doom Legion, and they marched to war. They went to Lamistel Abbey in Bretonia, which Heinrich had tried to raid before, but the maidens had placed many holy wards and stuff, making it very hard to get through. But this abbey had lots of dark relics and powerful necromancy things that he wanted to take for himself. Unfortunately, despite his great power and vast legions, the wards of the abbey were too bright and powerful, which dampened his powers and numbed his army. So Krell and Heinrich fled, but Duke Tancred would swear vengeance upon them, and the two would become rivals and clash for many, many years to come. And after all this time battling Bretonia, Heinrich would come to hate them almost as much as Colin. They were his main enemies.
Good man.
Which they're also your main enemy if you spawn as Heinrich in Total War. You're just like up in the Grey Mountains, I think. But his next feat, which is pretty cool, I think, is he would infiltrate Athol Loren, which is not easy, by the way. Like, most people who walk into Athol Loren basically get lost instantly and then die. But this was no problem to Mr. Heinrich, who could see through the deceptive magic very easily as if it were child's play. And he went to this burial site where all the like intruders and whatever were kind of just thrown and buried in. And he would raise this big army of barbarians there. He headed to the Oak of Ages, but was ambushed by Durthu, big tree guy. I'm sure you'd recognize him, big tree guy with a sword. But he almost beat Durthu. He almost killed Durthu. But then Wood Elf reinforcements arrived, and he had to leave. He's very much he has very bad guyism, where he's very powerful and he's very awesome, but he can't really achieve any of these grand plans because there have to be Wood Elves to exist, and Bretonia still has to exist.
In fairness, walking into Athol Loren, killing like 1,000 Wood Elves, and then being able to leave is pretty good.
Pretty badass. It's pretty badass, I think. But these pale in comparisons to his very much deserved win that he did not win because he was in a Gotrek and Felix book. But there's around this area of time though, he took on an apprentice necromancer who he then sent to infiltrate the Empire, and his apprentice was named Daniken, which has to be like, there's no way that's real. Yeah. And Daniken would become the apprentice of a warrior priest of Sigmar. What an interesting coincidence. But so yeah, he has Anakin from Star Wars, who was apprenticed by Obi-Wan. If Anakin
not just the men, but the women and the children.
Yeah. Oh man,
but Athol War men, but the Athol War women and Athol War children.
He hates forests. He gets everywhere.
His feud with the Duke, or Duke Tancred, would eventually come to an end, though, where they had a final battle atop a massive bridge, and it was going pretty well for Heinrich. He chose the bridge because you can't use cavalry on a bridge, really. Easy peasy. He was beating the Bretonians back, no problem. But then, and also Krell and his whites went under the bridge through the freezing water to the other side to kill the Bretonians over there, which was pretty cool. Perk of being undead. They were pretty much defeated, but then Mr. Tancred prays to the lady, prays to the lady, and the holy light comes and shines down on him and his knights, and they all charge through the bridge, and you get through the entire army of undead to where Heinrich is, and the only one who's able to intercept them on time is Krell. Krell then 1v10s, or whatever the number was. Krell fights off the Duke and the knights at the same time, but is eventually pushed back and knocked off of the bridge by a hit from the Duke's Morning Star, unfortunately. But still, he fought a Duke and probably Grail Knights, assuming maybe they weren't, but still pretty impressive, I think. He would have won the 1v1, you know. So the Duke alone gets to the Lich Master and fights, and Heinrich's actually a pretty good duelist despite being this old decrepit guy. He's got a really sick sword and a cloak that lets him fly and become ethereal. So he actually held his own pretty well, and he blasted the Duke with all this magic, but the Duke eventually got to him, and in the end, the Duke does a pretty much mortal wound to Heinrich, but he explodes and kind of disappears, and the Duke is left killed, and Heinrich is left running away as a ghost thing. He takes a lot of damage a lot of the time, and he ends up being okay because the dark magic kind of knits him together. It's pretty cool. In the Vampire Counts episode, we talked about how Manfred took the Everchild. I forgot the elf's actual name.
Aliathra.
Yeah. And Heinrich was a big part of that plan. In fact, he was probably the most important part of that plan. He aided Manfred in stealing the Everchild in his plans to get Nagash back up and running. But Heinrich didn't really stick around for that because he doesn't want to be someone's lackey. He's too much of a G for that. So his final and almost awesome act was to be in a Gotrek and Felix book. Poor fellow. I have not read this book. I must admit, I'm very sad, but I do know the general story. But hey, first of all, he's in the Gotrek and Felix books, and he survives, which is huge.
Crazy.
Yeah. He fights Gotrek and Felix even and survives. Pretty good.
That's usually how you die.
Yeah. Well, he in this book he raises an army of 100,000 dead, and he takes the second most fortified castle in the Empire in 6 days. He lays siege to it, and just easy peasy. He tricks the girl inside to let them in and stuff. He would then attempt a ritual using the corpses of the nobles that he got within there to cause the entire Reichland to die, basically. All the crops would wither away, all the water become poison, everyone would just die. And he almost did it. He was this close. He had a whole court of wizards and stuff working with him, but then Gotrek and Felix show up, and they do Gotrek and Felix things.
To be fair, and again, giving Kemmler some credit, well, Krell, but there's no Krell without Kemmler.
Yeah.
He did hit Gotrek with the axe, and Gotrek looked over and was like, "Hey, I'm probably gonna die. I know how the axe works."
From what I can tell, Krell fought Gotrek and multiple Slayers at the same time. Pretty nice.
If I remember correctly, yes. I think it was Snorri.
That would be
I think the little old nosebiter was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Krell is badass. Krell is freaking awesome.
Unfortunately, the plot of that book went swiftly nowhere.
Sad. Yeah. So then Gotrek and Felix show up. They lose. Gotrek and the Slayers kill Krell. Heinrich ghosts away and picks up Krell's remains, and then he comes back because Krell's already dead. So you can't really kill him. But yeah, I think they're pretty cool characters. Heinrich is really cool, and I feel like he's never talked about, even though he's the most powerful necromancer in the old world. Whatever. As for their we don't talk about the end times, okay? No end times or anything. Sigvald killed Krell, so
Eli, I don't know. I don't know if I missed you mention it, but Kemmler is Warhammer's first ever character.
I saw that thumbnail.
So technically, I think Harry the Hammer was before him, but this was before they gave him a name.
Yeah.
So Kemmler is the first ever Warhammer character.
Yeah, and I have his. He's not put together, but I have his Chinese version right here, and by China I just mean recast, but from China. Okay. Anyways, I did write a little bit about their tabletop stuff, so I'll mention
what was the item of Nagash he was carrying, Colin, that Arkham was like, gimme? His staff.
I don't. It might have been his staff, but I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's the reason he got clapped in the end times, isn't it? And then Krell went on to go fight for Nagash. I don't know if
it was all. Kemmler also went a bit insane and made deals with the Chaos Gods on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy's a little cray-cray. But his warrior's pretty cool. I'll just mention that before I'm done. Heinrich has the Chaos Tomb Blade, so it's a Chaos Sword, which is pretty neat. And it immediately traps the soul of whoever he kills in battle and allows him to reanimate them that instant as graveyard, so or just powerful undead in general. So usually you can do that as like a zombie or something easy, but graveyard are pretty strong, like shock troop skeletons. That's pretty cool. On tabletop, it gave him +2 attacks, and if he was leading a unit of skeletons or graveguards, you could add more skeletons or graveguard if Kemmler killed somebody in close combat. Pretty neat. Mm-hmm. He has the Cloak of Mists and Shadow, which allowed him to become ethereal and fly, which just gave him the option on tabletop to either fly or be ethereal that turn. An ethereal meant you can only be wounded by magic weapons and nothing else. And speaking of magic weapons, his skull staff has like the skull of a bird on top of it that chatters to him whenever any magic is nearby, or like about spells and sorcerers and wizards nearby, and so he can't really ever be caught off guard by an enemy magic user. And it also helps him out with counter spells. Yeah.
God, what a snitch.
On tabletop, it would mean all magic items within 12 inches of him would need to be declared, because I guess you didn't need to tell your opponent which guys had your magic items. It's literally been 10 years since I played Warhammer Fantasy, but holy cow, I want to play it again. And it gave him +1 to dispel magic. Pretty nice. Krell, on the other hand, the Black Axe gave him +2 strength, made him fight last, and it caused D3 wounds if you wounded, which back in those days, D3 wounds was a lot of wounds because your characters only had 2 to 4 wounds most of the time.
That would have hurt to get hit with.
Yeah, so that would, if you rolled good, he would be insta-killing most not high tier characters, most like middle and low tier characters. Pretty cool. And if you didn't get killed by that, you'd have to roll a dice at the beginning of each turn, and if the dice roll was higher than the amount of wounds you had left, you take another wound. So good odds you're going to be taking more wounds. He's so freaking cool. His Armor of Barrows gave him a 4+ save, which is fairly decent for Warhammer Fantasy. And if you wounded Krell with a magic weapon and then had him pass his save, the magic weapon would become a regular weapon for the rest of the game and lose all of its abilities. Pretty neat. I love Krell. Krell and Heinrich. Heinrich.
Cool. We need to do one more Warhammer Fantasy. I'm so into it at the moment.
Yeah, I need an excuse to read that Gotrek and Felix book. So
I think we have another round of donations. I think Andy just next to you before Andy rounds it off. Donkey Man USA for the $2. Colin, bless Sigmar 10 hours when.
Soon.
He has done some in the elect accounts quite a lot. Tom Warren for $5. Gotrek and Felix showed up. Gotrek and Felix all over the place.
Yeah,
true.
Yes, sir.
Gammoth draws with $2. Bro is one in a Krillian.
I like that.
Donkey Man USA for the $5. My Metal 2000 edition of Thankful model just arrived in the mail. Praise be.
Nice.
Is Donkey Man doing the hybrid?
Yeah, he sent me pictures of it a little bit.
Army, isn't he? Yeah, before Skaven up army.
It's quite
cool. Andy. I believe we have a few last things now to talk about for our little Halloween special.
I wanted to talk about a few different things without dragging things on because we're already at 1 hour 20. So I'm just going to mention a couple of things. We've got 3 factions. Now, for anyone interested, tomorrow I am releasing a video on my channel on the Legion of the Damned. But I'm going to give you a quick primer tonight because honestly speaking, there's a lot we can get into the nitty gritty, but as it stands, here we are. So the Legion of the Damned are the quintessential edgy Marines. They are undead Astartes. It's flame-wreathed black armor. They couldn't be more emo-coded if you wanted. But there are some discrepancies on their origins. So, for example, generally speaking, most people think they are descendants of the Firehawks, which is true. We know for a fact that the Firehawks were given the Rapturous Rex, which was a big star fort. It's not as big as the Phalanx, but it's massive. It's a star fort. Sebastian IV gave it to them during the Age of Apostasy, after the Imperial Fist, the Black Templars, and the Soul Drinkers killed the hell out of Goj Vandai and his men. And they were like, hey, Firehawks, you're kind of a bunch of dickheads, but at least you do a good job. Have a big star fort. We know for a fact the Legion of the Damned use that as their base of operations. Now, here's the rub. While it's true that the Firehawks, who were very much all about, hey, we don't care about our allies, like Colin, let's say you're a Space Marine chapter, I'm the Firehawks.
Yeah.
If you were like, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you say, hey, Andy, I've lost 100 men. I need reinforcements. Please send help.
Andy, I've lost 100 men. Send reinforcements and help.
Fuck you. I'm going to do my own thing.
Oh.
That's the Firehawks.
Oh,
That's the Firehawks.
that's not very nice.
No, they
Fuck
were
you, horse
widely
you're riding on.
regarded as they were widely regarded as the High Lords of Terror, and Imperial authorities love them, but they're not nice people. They are dicks.
Cocks.
They would rather be like, I'll get a medal, you'll die. Screw you.
That's quite rude.
Yeah, even for Space Marines. However, because of the fact that the Legion of the Damned overwhelmingly has evidence that the Firehawks are now Legion of the Damned, they now spend all their time trying to save Space Marines in the direst circumstances. Bear in mind, Legion of the Damned only appear during the absolute worst case scenario, climactic moments of a battle.
Of
Of
course.
Or any Eldar battle.
Anything. If the Imperium is going to suffer a catastrophic defeat, they spawn in. And there are many interesting caveats to that. So, for example, the first recorded moment we saw the Legion of the Damned was during the War within the Webway. The Emperor was like, hey, loyalists, all you loyalists who died gracelessly, come at me. Come fight with me. And Ferrus Manus himself led them in a charge against the demons of the warp. Now, it's worth bearing in mind, yes, this may be the Legion of the Damned. It's not like they weren't called the Legion of the Damned. They're just like a bunch of specters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Ferrus Manus is dead, and he's very much about results over ethics. And with the current way the Legion of the Damned fight, that also makes sense. There are fan theories that maybe even to this day, the Legion of the Damned are led by Ferrus Manus in the background because their combat tactics reflect his methods of war. That said, that's all speculation. All we know for certain is that the Legion of the Damned only appear when it is balls to the wall, absolute worst moment of all time. So they were there during Abaddon the Despoilers 13th Black Crusade. They were first sighted during the first time they were sighted in the 40th millennium. There was a bunch of corpses on a battlefield, and the Inquisition, the Order of Malleus, they saw this ship fleeing. They're like, what the hell? And they went to have a look, and they just found 2 coffins, and the coffins contained like decayed corpses in ceramite, which was like burned black. And then they had a look at the coffins like signatures, and they're like, oh, this is a Firehawks chapter coffin. And the Rapturous Rex, where they're based, seems to be the case. And the Ordo Kronos are like, I'd give my life if I ever once got to see them in action. Any Space Marine that sees them in action, they're like, wow, these guys are mental. Like, you can get shot by a melter bomb, you can get hit by a force sword. Anything that would kill a dreadnought, a Legion of the Damned shrugs off. Because anytime they get hit by that, it's because any other thing they get hit by passes through them. Like Ghosty. Ooh. Like, you go bang, 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 it goes through them. They don't care. But it's worth remembering that they have an affliction, a warp affliction, which results in the pyromortis. So to give you an idea, we know the Blood Angels have the Black Rage. They go mental. In a similar vein, the Legion of the Damned, they get consumed by ethereal fire, and it consumes their very soul. So it's not just, oh, they're OP and they're annoying, and it's like the cost of that is your very soul is consumed by the warp, and no one will ever remember you lived. And there are several pieces of information that regards that they use heresy pattern weapons. They could be members of the Istvan 3 or 5 drop site massacre. They could have members of the Calfatrocity, Remus Ventanus during the Uriel Ventris books. He was reborn as a member of the Legion of the Damned, and he still had Ultramar sigils on his armor, which is a rare case. So some people are like, oh, maybe that was a one-off because Honsu was attacking Calf in this example, and so he was there at the exact right time at the exact right moment, and then he went, Remus, come back, we need you. And he was like, I'll be like a DLC Smash Bros. Everyone's here. Like, that could be the case. There's no evidence he joined the Legion of the Damned entire, but he definitely joined them for one moment.
I've got the best analogy I was thinking of. Has everyone here made it to the end of Naruto?
No,
Oh
I know what happens, but
Might Guy, the 8th in a gate. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, Might Guy.
Might Guy, my dude.
Real
Might
one.
Guy, 8th in a gate. Just for the uninitiated, essentially has a thing where he basically consumes his own life force and then becomes like slightly red and on fire, and then he'll die within a minute, but he is unbelievably strong.
But for that minute.
But my God, my dude, that rocks so hard, by the way. Oh, people need to watch that fight.
I love Mike and Guy.
Shut up.
All I'm going to say is that Legion of the Damned are a weird bunch, because even to like people who survived their campaigns, they're happy that they didn't die. But there are reports of like, if Colin was a member of like the civilian populace,
okay,
you'll get amnesia. I'm guaranteeing you won't remember them. But until the day you die, you will forever smell in your nostrils the decaying flesh of their like chapter.
Ew.
And you won't know why. It's like, forever. And even the Auspex devices and Mechanicus scanning devices that try to like, because the Legion of the Damned have a unique thing where they can just teleport wherever they want at any time through the warp, because they use the warp in its purity. They don't use the Astronomicon. It's uniquely their thing. The Ordo Chronos is like, that'd be really useful if we can use this. Every time they've ever attempted to try and like figure out how they do this, the machine spirits of the scanning device they use have like PTSD. They forget everything and they don't work. So only like Magos and amazing tech marines can be like, this Auspex is broken, I can restore it. And even if they like repair them, they don't remember anything they've had to do with the Legion of the Damned. And that's partially because the Legion of the Damned is like, no, this is like a virus. This is like an affliction.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, we don't want this. We don't want you to have this. Even when they fight alongside Space Marines, are like, we don't want to infect you. That's why we're like, we're in, we're out, we don't do any fanfare, because you could get infected, and that's a bad thing.
Don't they have?
And they're all insane.
They have like is it like a chalice or something, or a skull?
They have their veteran sergeant has a Crozius, which saps the souls out of the living, and by doing so, he can restore wounded legions of the damned. But it's like, even then, they're sparing with the use of it, because they're like, we're cool. We don't want you to be like me, because it sucks. Like, it sucks. I'm insane and I'm undead, but I'm not quite undead, and I might be aligned to chaos, and it sucks. But because I am so righteous in my fervence to the Emperor, I'm not going to fall to chaos. I'm going to use it against them. But you don't want to be me, bruh. You don't know what you're getting into.
Couldn't be me.
Don't be like me. Don't do it. It's cringe. Stop.
It's not
So
worth
that's
it.
kind of the Legion of the Damned. It's not worth it.
They look. The artwork is amazing for them, though. Oh my god!
It's a criminal that they aren't on the tabletop anymore.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
It's
Amazing,
pretty crazy. I have some other examples of undead Astartes, so if you'd like them.
Yes.
I've only got 2 left. So the other one is the Iron Hands. Iron Hands, criminally underrepresented during the 40k lore. They have a bit of a boost in Horus Heresy, but so when you think Iron Hands, you think Keys of Hell. Now, what are the Keys of Hell? The Keys of Hell are a ancient piece of technology that predates the 30th millennium, predates the Great Crusade, that was retrieved from the Iron Hands Primarch Ferrus Manus. It's a forbidden piece of technology, which basically gives cybernetic resurrection. So your toaster dies, your warranty expires. Keys of Hell, it's alive. But every time you make a batch of toast, it goes, you go, oh, it's fine. It's fine.
It is
free electricity, but all your electronics want to murder you. It's just a
exactly.
wild way to live.
And it's so bad that Ferrus Manus didn't tell the Mechanicus about this. He was like, they don't need to know. This is heresy, but it could be useful. So he locked this technology away, and he basically said, if you're not an Iron Hand, you don't need to know about this. And there's a story called Riven, not to be confused with the Riven Hound from the World Eaters, but there's a story called Riven about Creus, who is part of the Crusader host, which are every single legion had a exemplar who stayed on Terra during the heresy. It was like, you're part of the Crusader host. We're going to learn from you because you're kind of injured or you're too old to fight and blah, blah, blah. And he went with an Imperial Fist to find Iron Hands in order to fight Horus. And he managed to go on a ship where they were like, oh, we're Iron Hands. And they were creepy as F. And he's like, what the hell's going on? And he found out they had like a gigantic fridge on their ship and they were all dead, but they've been resurrected with the Keys of Hell. And the end of the story is like the Imperial Fist captain he's with is like, bruh, this is heresy. We should go back to the throne world and tell people. And was like, no, you don't understand. Our Primarch's dead. We're already damned. Let's just give him what for before we die. So he actually like sends him away. And he's like, no, you put me in chains. I'm now shackling. He chains him up. He's like, you'll go back to Terra and telling them what we've done, but I don't give a shit because I'm going to get my revenge on the Sons of Horus. And he leads his undead Iron Hands to fight the Sons of Horus because, as an example, I recently did a video on Cardan Stronos. There's a faction called Hellfathers in Iron Hands lore.
Oh yeah.
Everyone in the chapter has no idea what these guys are about. They're just like, they don't speak. They stare at you uncannily all the time. They're just like,
strangely quiet.
They're like this.
For the audio listeners, he's staring directly into the soul of the audience. Like at Colin too. Jesus Christ, that's close.
They just do that all day, and they don't say a word. And during Cardan Stronos' first book, The Eye of Medusa, there's a point where he's confronted by Iron Father Christos and a Hellfather. And he's like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I'm going to kill all your brothers in Clade Stronos. And he does. He kills most of them. And the Hellfather shoots a bunch of them. And then one of Clan Averni is like, bruh, what are you doing? I don't like how this is going. And he shoots the Hellfather in the head, and his head blows up. That guy is then killed by the Hellfather for a retaliatory volley from a headless Hellfather. That should give you the idea of like, you don't mess with the Hellfathers because they have no emotions. They just function. And even if you blow off their heads, they do not care. And the whole story of the Riven is like, these are perfect enemies to the War Master and his forces because like they may be traitors, but they're not damned. And it's like, we're dead and we don't give a shit. We'll kill you anyway. And we don't care if we die because we're dead anyway. And yeah,
You can't kill a dead man.
Exactly. The keys of hell are pretty like Ferrus Manus found the technology in the Sarkosan known as the Sarkosan formulae, and he sealed them away, and he was like, I don't really want my sons to use this ever, but they did because he was dead anyway. And not being funny,
there it is. There it is.
But if you were if you were an Iron Hand and you're like, my Primarch's dead, he's practically at this point the only dead Primarch. Like Sanguinius is alive at this point. Vulcan respawns like an MF, and Corvus Corax is a bird, so he keeps flying away. Like you're
cheated.
Cheated. You're the only Legion who has a dead Primarch. Traitor or Loyalist, you're the only one who has a dead Primarch. You go, F it. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna die, and I don't care. Why wouldn't you at that point? Like at that point, it's just pride. It's just like, I'm gonna turn the keys of hell, and I'm gonna become a specter of death. You can kill me as many times as you want. It doesn't matter because I'm gonna kill you anyway. Every 10 men you throw at me, you can kill me 10 times. I'll come back and I'll kill you. Like that's the Iron Hand's modus operandi, and that's pretty creepy.
Wasn't the even scarier part? Like technically inside the thing, they're actually conscious, but like they're locked out of their body, isn't it? I think it was something like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Their own. They are technically like in there, but it's just like a fleeting consciousness, and they literally are aware of the fact that they gave up their body, and then someone else is in control, which is terrifying.
They kind of remind me a bit of like an organic version of the Rubric Marines, where the Rubric Marines of the Thousand Suns, they don't understand like, oh, I'm dead. The Iron Hands are like, I'm inhabiting a shell of ceramite, but I don't care because I have a job to do. It's like it's like edgy Rubric Marines. It's like all is dust, yeah, but I don't give a shiz. All is rust, if you will.
And this is
all
good.
is rust. All is rust, and I'm corroding you.
It's especially terrifying because even the chaos, like the traitors, have brotherhood. Like even they have like something, like amongst them. They were all like, I stand with Abaddon because he's my boy, and we've been fighting for a century. And these guys literally don't. There's not a single shred of human.
They're like, I don't even care about the Emperor that much. My dad's dead. You'll die next. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So come on.
I think I told the boys.
Come get me.
It's
even
very
death
cool
can't kill me. Come get me.
People are terrified when they're near them. Terrified.
Yeah, they are unnerving. Like, even Cardan Stronos, who's the current chapter master of the Iron Hands, when he first sees them, he's like, "We know about them. Don't look at them. Don't talk to them. Don't look at them for too, because they're the creepy as F." And the Eye of Medusa, where they have the Iron Council, where they all commune, or the council, the Iron Hands are unique because they're like they don't have a chapter master, they have a war leader, and they elect them, and every time a battle by the war leader is won or lost, they go, shall we re-elect them as chapter master, or should we say someone else should do it? Like Cardan Stronos has been chapter master for over 300 years because the Iron Council's like, that's our guy, that's our guy, that's our guy. Even when he lost against the Farsight Enclaves, and the Iron Council were like, nah, he's still great. Reappoint him because he's amazing. And
literally him.
Yeah, their chamber is guarded by the Hellfathers, and they just stand there and they don't talk, and they just
man, give us Iron Hands tabletop things, please.
Oh, I beg for just
that's the Iron Fathers in a sinister manner. I do have one last faction to talk about. If you will
let us have it.
It's a really niche one, but I thought it was really interesting. So during the second Black Legion book, called Black Legion, there is a brief moment where Abaddon and friends are going through the warp, and they encounter a warbound that's like the chaos mirror to the Legion of the Damned, and they're called the Warp Ghosts. Now, to give you an idea, they exist between life and death. They have like a green aura, like when you see them, they project this like green glow. And during M31, Iskander Kion from the Thousand Sons, who's part of the Black Legion, but he defected. He was like, they're futuristic, like they're more advanced than the Imperium, which is weird. Like they're more technologically sophisticated than the Imperium in the 31st millennium. They're not chaos aligned as such. They're more like mercenaries, and no one knows where they come from. Even the Ordo Malleus is like, who the fuck are these guys? These gray armored, like they're Carcharodon-esque, but without the like pale skin. They're just like a bunch of like chaos ghosts. And like, what's with these guys? And they're like, I don't know. And they are known as the ferrymen of the Eye of Terror. So whenever you go through the Eye of Terror, you can bargain with the ferryman. Abaddon himself is like, oh, I want to form the Black Legion. He gets confronted by the ferryman, and they were like, you got to pay the toll. You got to pay the toll to get in the kids' hole. Got to pay the toll to get in, said the ferryman. And they're this weird spectral chapter that exists outside of chaos. They're not goodies. They're not loyalists, but they are not chaos exactly. They're weird. And so Abaddon mysteriously has to offer them something. And there's a whole thing where like he has a friend of his during his venture through the first book. And he's talking to the appointed like seneschal of the ghost men, the warp ghosts. And then the guy takes his helmet off, and it's his friend, but he's several hundred years aged. And it's like, hold on, your like confidant has aged 200 plus, maybe more years. So they exist out of time. And you sacrificed him earlier in the book, but he's aged a lot. But is he really in a start? Because he's not really in a Astartes, but he is now. And there's this weird mysteriousness where it's like, they're so uncanny. Even chaos is unsettled by them. And they don't quite like them. And they're mercenaries. But that being said, they're known as the World Breakers. They were present during Abaddon the Despoiler's first and 13th Black Crusades. They have an extremely overpowered fleet, which neither Chaos nor Imperial nor Xenos archives know where it comes from. And they're weird. Part of their charm is that they are overpowered, but they are hesitant to get involved. And that's kind of the thing about the Warp Ghosts. They are strange as heck, and they are allied to no one specifically. But Abaddon the Despoiler had to make. They're only in one book, but like Abaddon has to sacrifice something to them, which he doesn't really reveal properly. And it's all like,
is it winning the first independent Black Crusades?
I mean, they're there at the first one. They were there at the 13th. They're there, so they obviously have a stake in it. But they're also like, hey, you're not above us. Your chaos stuff, your Imperium stuff is beneath us. We don't care. The guy you were friends with, he's actually our leader now. And we're now 200 plus years in the future from when you spoke to him like the other month. Like, huh? They're weird as heck. Because it's ADD writing. And I think they're the spookiest faction because they're like and then remember, Black Legion's supposed to be a trilogy. We've only got two. Where's the third book? It's said as a trilogy.
It'll come one day. We'll get it.
Mr. Bowden
needs
to
just in time for the Inari trilogy to finish.
We don't need to finish that one.
That one can stay
I read the
away.
Black Legion books when I was like 14.
That being said, though, is there any more donations out there? Are we all caught up? Possibly.
We've got
just like DJ B says, how moisturizes himself with frozen McDonald's grease. That's crazy.
I'm not a fan of that.
Extra medium for the $2. The Legion of the Damned is just 40k Stormcast. I really hate that sentence.
Sounds real.
I mean, I will say that when a Legion of the Damned dies, they die.
Mm.
They don't just die. Their soul gets like burned to a crisp.
They're
They
out.
ain't
Well,
coming back.
yeah.
They're gone.
Mr. Mielov again. He says, "I was a boy on Calth when Lorecrimes attacked." Man, Calth really be getting it. They just
Oh,
poor Calth.
that's a Chiron quote from
That
Space
is.
Marine 2.
What,
Everyone's
Lorecrimes?
been bricking it on Reddit. They're like, "How is he 10,000 years old?" And say,
He's a
"You don't know the
Primaris
rules."
He's
Marine.
been
One
in
of the first
cryo
prime.
sleep.
Yeah, he's a gray shield.
Is there another one?
It still doesn't beat. I
Good
was there the day
go.
Horus shat himself. That's still an
Right.
all-time classic.
There's a Warhammer book where the Inquisitor captured one of the Legion of the Damned. It's called The Flames of Perdition, I think.
I think it was an
Hmm.
Ordo Chronos Inquisitor, if I remember
Sama
correctly.
Terra.
That's their whole thing. Like the Ordo Chronos are like, if I die at 200 years old and I have one chance to see them in person, I'll die happy. That's their whole thing.
Extra medium for the $5. The Keys of Hell, aka just make Iron Hands and Necron faction, you cowards.
It's heresy.
There's always quite a few artworks of people crossing over Iron Hands and Necrons things.
It'd be a cool team up.
Because Iron, Mr. Iron Headless Ferris wore some Necron stuff on his arms. I don't think we prepared a question of the week, but if we think of one quickly for all the lovely, beautiful people, though,
Maybe
let's just say if
maybe
you're gonna
hashtag spoopy.
hashtag spooky,
What's the spookiest
You
thing
have
you've
to
seen
write-
in Warhammer?
maybe if you have to write a new piece of Warhammer lore that's terrifying for someone else, and obviously wrong answers, maybe something terrifying and you made it up. Hashtag spooky though. Thank you everyone who did the donations over the stream. As you can tell, we'll probably not be dressing up like this most of the time. There's a few more.
I will say though, if I get my costume, when I get my costume, when I get it the next stream, I'll wear it. Just to say, sorry for not having the costume in time.
Maybe Colin will save his one for a special day, or maybe we'll all dress like a Warhammer, a Lorecrimes member. Sorry, for certain streams. It'll be funny.
See.
That being said, though, everyone, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you did make it this far, obviously a like is very much appreciated. Hope you enjoyed a little selection of our sort of things we like about, Halloween-y, spooky stuff. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Bye.
I love you.
Bye bye.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.